okay, what feels restful, what feels supportive right now. And if that
Yeah.
means you just need a day to sleep, that might mean you just need a day to sleep. And then you'll have more recovery and energy to be like, okay, then what is the next step? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe it's calling Aaron or it's calling Tiffany
Yeah.
and being able to get support in that way. And then, like, what's the next step? And just taking it a step at a time. Again, we don't have to overhaul the whole picture and figure it all out. We don't have to have the grand plan. We just need the next step.
On today's episode of Empowered in Health, I have Tiffany Leader here, and Tiffany is a licensed clinical social worker and the CEO and founder of See the Wonder, which is a mental health and wellness company that specializes in burnout and compassion fatigue recovery. And Tiffany, I love the work you're doing, and I know we connected online to kind of relate about this concept of inside out health and wellness, specifically for women. How do we really continue to normalize the conversation around what are the expectations when you are in this seat of being a helper and caring for all the people? Or how do you start to recognize burnout and, work against that in different facets of your life? And so, Tiffany, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to chat.
Yeah, I am too. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, of course. I love these conversations truly because I have the opportunity to learn so much from so many amazing women like you who are doing incredible things in the world and have these specialties around different facets of health. And I know we've talked about this kind of outside of the podcast, how much we want to continue to empower women to understand that when we think about health, when we think about what we need from the inside out, it's such a larger conversation than I feel like so much have been led to believe. Yeah. And that's really what I want to focus on a lot today. I know obviously you specialize in burnout. You work with women who are kind of in that helper mentality, people pleasing mentality, taking care of all the things, showing up for all the people. Yeah. And, what are the things that keep them in burnout? And so that's one of the places I would love to start. Tell me a little bit about what led you to this work. I'm sure you have some level of your own story or your own situation that led you into really wanting to serve in this space and helping others kind of understand, identifying this concept of burnout. And how do we really start to recognize it and make sure that we're not headed down that road for too long, right? Because that can be a recipe for disaster. So share a little more with us.
Yeah. So I am my ideal client. I am a recovering people pleaser is what I like to say. I'm a helper and I wanted to do all the things. And I like to call it my burnout incident because it's a culmination. As a social worker, we tend to wave the superhero flag and we want to help everybody when we come into our profession, which is a noble and it ignites the flame and the passion that we have for people. But if we don't put guardrails around that, that's when burnout starts to, I like to say the singes of burnout start to ignite. And so for me, it was, I am loyal to a fault. So when I'm passionate about something, I'm going to dig my heels in. I'm going to persevere. I grabbed onto the thought, it's going to get better when it wasn't going to get better. I would love to say that I realized this on my own, but I started going to therapy because I was like, I just need to fix the anxiety and the stress that I was feeling. I just need to fix it. That's another mentality that we tend to have is we need to fix it and it'll be better. But the reality is it's not necessarily. And my therapist sat me down after a month of this burnout incident I was going through. And she's like, Tiffany, when's it going to get better? Yeah. I was like, I don't know. I collapsed on her couch. I was crying. And that was the realization, oh my gosh, I am burnt out. Because I had the expectation it was going to get better if we could open the program, if we could advocate for our clients a little bit more, if we just shift and change things until things ran smoothly. But the reality is there were other things culturally in the organization that I was working in, and just the level of complex trauma that my clients were involved in. All of that was piling up on me, and I felt the weight of that. I felt like I had to carry that, and it was really crippling me.
Yeah. And that I love that you're speaking to this. And this is what I want to call to attention more than anything, because
Hmm.
this is a very real thing, especially inside of the health conversation, right? We've
Yes.
almost normalized this idea of
Yes.
you're going to be living in survival. You're going to be living with stress. Like life
Hmm.
is just stressful. Keep on going, keep
Yep.
powering through. And there's actually a very distinctive difference between, okay, what's like an average typical amount of stress? And
Hmm.
when have we gone too far? When are we in total survival? And when are
Yeah.
we on the road to true burnout? And
Yeah.
that is one of the things that I want women to hear, because Tiffany just hit the nail on the head. Like you kind of get into this headspace of thinking, everything will be better when, or how do I
Yes.
fix that I feel so
Yes.
anxious, or that I feel so
Hmm.
depressed, or that I feel so overloaded? How do I fix that versus what do I maybe need to change in the dynamic of my
Hmm.
life? What do I need
Yeah.
to do boundaries wise? What do I need to do
Hmm.
schedule wise? What do I need to do as far as understanding the ownership between what's mine to own and
Hmm.
what's someone else's? And so, Tiffany, can you talk a little bit about that? Because this is a
Yeah.
big thing inside of our society. We've totally normalized being stressed and burned out to the max. And so,
Yeah.
with that concept in mind, how do you in your mind define the difference between this is everyday stress or this is survival mode, burnout, and I'm like on the road to total disaster?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna get a little sciencey, and I'll explain the science, and then I'll kind of put it into more terminology that we can all understand.
Love
Is
it.
that normal everyday stress? We're inside what's called a window of tolerance,
Yes.
and this window of tolerance is saying, "I feel stress, but I feel like I can handle it." It might be like a little activating in my body and maybe my brain a little bit, but I'm not spiraling in my thoughts. I don't have these giant knots in my shoulders. When we come out of that window of tolerance, that's the fight, flight, or freeze mode, or fawn. Fawn
Yep.
is the people pleasing part that not a lot of people talk about. And that's when we flip up into that mode where we're exploding, we're anxious, we're angry, our thoughts are spiraling into like catastrophizing. So everything's a catastrophe, everything's a mountain that's going on. Or we are shutting down into this numb state
Yeah.
of like, I just have to get through. So a term that I've been researching lately is functional freezing.
Yeah.
Is, and a lot of high achieving and high performing women tend to fall in this phase because you're still functioning on a regular basis, but what's happening, it's like the inside of your body is frozen. You're
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to do. I'm
Yep.
not sure what do I do with these feelings. What do I do with what's going on? So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing till I can either like figure it out, or something happens
Yeah.
to kick you out of that mode. And learning how your body responds to stress is how you're going to know whether you're in that window of tolerance or you're outside of that.
Yeah.
Because the body's going to signal us first before our minds will signal us. So maybe that is for me in my story, it was like my jaw was tightening and I had a knot in the back of my neck that wouldn't go away. And I noticed it. I was like, huh, okay, I am stressed. This knot is not relaxing. It's not going away. And that started to get me curious of what else is happening in my body right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. The window of tolerance is one of my favorite visuals that I've ever
Yes.
learned along my social work journey too,
Yeah.
because it's just a really powerful way to think about where am I functioning or where am I potentially living most of my life. And
Yes.
when you think about what you just kind of described in a visual capacity, Tiffany, it can be easier to identify when are those moments when I'm living way out of the window, whether way above it
Yes.
or way
Mm-hmm.
below it. And when that happens, what are the tools I'm using to essentially get
Mm-hmm.
myself back in the window? And if I don't
Yes.
feel like I have tools, where am I getting the support to make sure that I can get to that place of
Yes.
not being super elevated or super depleted? Like it really
Yes.
is such a powerful way to think about what it is to essentially live with chronic stress and this
Mm-hmm.
added level of being on the road of burnout. And so I just appreciate you kind of giving us that visual and talking about the science behind it too, because it's so profound for us to learn these little things and then relate
Mm-hmm.
it back to our own life and figure out like, okay, what are the things that I can slowly adjust, or where are the ways
Yes.
that I want to continue to improve my overall well-being? One of
Yeah.
the things you shared, Tiffany, was that you were a helper and that you are a helper,
Hmm.
right? I
Hmm.
feel like when you sit in a social work seat specifically, like you're a helper, you have a
Yeah.
huge heart to serve and support other people on their
Hmm.
inside out health and wellness journey and whatever it is that they're managing. And I know
Yeah.
for women, especially, whether it's in your job, whether it's you're a mom, whether you're in a relationship, you're coaching people, you're a therapist, or a clinician, stuff like that. Like we all come across these level of expectations around
Yes.
helping and serving other people.
Hmm.
In your mind, what do you feel like when women specifically are sitting in these roles? What are the hidden expectations that kind of crop up that keep helpers in this potential cycle of getting into burnout or getting into
Hmm.
survival and stress mode?
Yeah. One of the ones that pops into my mind is that if I take off work, take it from a workplace. If I take off work, I'm going to disappoint people.
Yeah.
And whether it's a legitimate reason or if you want to call it an excuse, whatever it is, like I'm going to disappoint people. I'm going to let people down. And so what keeps us in the hustle of that is like, I can't let them down. So I'm going to stay at work. Or
Yeah.
I can't let my clients down, the people that I'm serving. So I'm going to keep doing. Or even with mothers, with their kids, I always tell them, like, you can give them some toys or maybe an iPad for a minute
Yeah.
and just take a breath. Like you can step away for a moment or have the baby monitor on so you can see them
Yeah.
and just go into the other room because you can take that
Yeah.
time. So often we get in this thought we're letting people down, we're failing as a mother, as a worker, as a team player,
Yeah.
and so we get stuck in that. I think another couple of thoughts that we can get stuck in is I'm not it's the core belief of I'm not good enough. I
Yeah.
have to prove. As women historically we've had to prove ourselves in the workplace, in life, that we are worthy to either be the same or better than our male counterparts. And so
Yeah.
there's this proving sense of that, like I have a voice, I can show up. So we end up overworking
Yeah.
because of that. We become super loyal, like I have become to a fault, because we want to prove that we belong in this position or we belong in what we do.
Yeah.
And it's that hustling, proving, and that turns into perfectionism too.
Yeah.
Not
Yep.
always, but a lot of times I have to do it right. I have to do that. And when we're stressed too, this is another thought process. When you're in higher stress, we start to think in rights or wrongs. And
Yes.
really, a lot of life is in the gray.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so, a
Such a
lot
great.
of, yeah. And a lot of my work lately, I feel like with my clients, is like the stress level is a little bit high. So, they're saying things like, I don't want to make the wrong decision. Or what if I just want to make the right decision? Whether it's relationships, work, whatever it is. I'm like, well, this is like a gray area. So we
Yeah.
need to see the nuances. We need to kind of look at that and make the best decision. Because really,
Yes.
it's a decision. It's not right or wrong most of the time. It's just a
Yeah.
decision that you're making on this, on life, in life that you're doing.
I love that you talked about the gray area.
Mhm.
And, especially when I think about the lens I look through for health, but
Mhm.
also I like reflect back on my own journey and think about the clients that I work with and serve. This can be a really hard thing to grasp
Yes.
because you
Yes.
do get into this mindset of feeling like there has to be this perfect plan or there
Yeah.
has to be this
Hmm.
roadmap that takes me A to Z. And then,
Hmm.
this happens and that happens. And truly, like you said, so much of life happens in the gray. Like there's
Yeah.
so much fluidity and nuance and
Hmm.
understanding we have to really unpack, not only related to the life around us, but what's happening with us as individuals, right?
Yes.
Especially as
Yeah.
women, especially as our health evolves over time.
Hmm.
Like it's not realistic for us to believe that we can function in this right or wrong capacity. It's really got to
Right.
be this mindset shift of we're doing the best we can with what we
Yeah.
have, right?
Hmm.
And we have to keep making those educated choices based on what we learn really serves us best. And so,
Right.
Tiffany, I love that you shared a lot about these concepts of conditioning that we've kind of
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
brought up in our mind somehow, whether that's we don't feel like we're enough, or we have to feel like we're proving ourselves, or we feel like we're letting someone down.
Mm-hmm.
In your experience and expertise, do you feel like that comes from somewhere specifically that you can pinpoint when you're thinking about, the women that you speak to and the clients that you serve?
Yeah. I always say like we all have this like little bit of doubt in us. Where that comes from, we can debate all day long of is it innate? Is it because we're just human? Is it, all sorts of things. I think about my clients, it's that this little seed of like, I'm not good enough becomes reinforced
Yeah.
by experience, whether a family member said something, whether a teacher said something, whether a sibling was just being mean
Yeah.
one day.
Yep.
And this kind of little seed of doubt starts to grow unless you have somebody coming behind, a parent, a friend, a mentor is coming behind and saying, no, that's not true.
Right.
You
Right.
are more than enough. You are worthy. You are, you know, the best person in the world.
Yeah.
Um and some people innately feel like they are worthy
Yeah.
too. But like these seeds of doubt happen because of the experiences we have, whether that's our family of origin, whether that's experience we have in school,
Yeah.
college, I think all the way up workplace experiences. You can have a boss that um I've had many bosses and thankfully I've had several that are really great ones, and then I've had others that just, you know, weren't the best. Or even teachers. I think of my algebra teacher because I was bad in math,
Yeah.
and I look back and think about she always just marked red stuff on my paper.
Yeah.
And I always, but I never got like, what's the right answer? Or when
Right.
she would explain it, it was like, well, don't you know that? And da da da
Right.
da da. And that's a
Yeah.
core memory that I realized over my life that really affected how I felt
Yeah.
about myself and performing in school. And
Yeah.
so, I think it can come from a lot of different places.
Yeah, it really can. And I just appreciate you normalizing that, because I think sometimes we don't always connect the dots on
Yeah.
where we've been, what we've maybe been conditioned into, the
Mm-hmm.
soundtracks that we've been telling ourselves for so
Yeah.
long. It all forms who we are now. And so
Yeah.
the more you can continue to give yourself grace through that uncovering
Yeah.
process, like the better, because
Yes.
it really is this ever evolving thing. And there's
Mm-hmm.
so much to our deep rooted stories that we all have
Yes.
as a part of how we were brought up, and so much more. You
Yeah,
know,
and it can be generational too. I did some research about like in utero trauma, and it can be whatever your parent is experiencing. If they're experiencing high stress while they're pregnant with you, that changes your DNA.
wow.
And if you look at your grandparents and your grandparents before them, all of that like is compounded into your DNA. And if
Yeah.
there isn't a switch or a change, or somebody is using coping skills or working on their mental and emotional health, you get their stress markers
Yeah.
in your DNA. And so I love to share that sometimes because you have an opportunity
Yeah.
to change your DNA expression,
Yeah.
just focusing on your thoughts, on how your body feels, on your health, so that you are passing down new biomarkers in your DNA to the next generation and on.
Yeah, that's such a good reminder, and something that I don't think we all understand is very, very real. Like something that we
Mm-hmm.
really do, like you said, it is an opportunity
Yeah.
to make small changes to, make the trajectory different, and to actually have things continue to unfold in a different way than maybe what we've experienced, which is
Mm-hmm.
really, like you said, an incredible opportunity.
Yeah.
Tiffany, I'm kind of thinking of the woman that's listening to this who relates because she's a high achiever and she's felt like, I've been in burnout, or I definitely am a people pleaser, or I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out better boundaries. And I feel like I do have these hidden expectations because I want to do a good job, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
help and serve, and I want to figure out, like, how do I continue to stay true to how that feels to me, but also make sure that I'm taking care of my well-being.
Yeah.
So for the person that's listening to this who feels like slowing down is not really an option, or they feel very
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed by that, what would
Yeah.
you say to them as far as, a reframe that might help support them with making some of these small changes?
Yeah. I would say let's not overhaul your life. Let's just pick one thing.
Yeah.
And it can be a really small thing, such as even saying no. I always say saying no is a complete sentence.
Yep.
So, and you can do it in small things. So I know maybe there's like a boundary you're afraid to set, that you're like, oh, I don't know what people are going to say. I don't know what's going to do. Do something small. Like, I'm like, even like you're telling your barista an order and
Yeah.
they tell it back and they have something wrong. Say, oh,
Yeah.
wait, no, I want oat milk instead of
Yeah.
whole milk. And so
Right.
when you can do that in low stakes environments,
Yeah.
then you'll start to build the muscle to be able to do that in what feels like higher stake environments.
Yeah. And I love that reminder so much, because I think this can be really hard for women, especially
Mm-hmm.
again, to your point, when you're wanting to take care of all the people and you feel like
Yeah.
you have this massive responsibility and you
Mm-hmm.
want to almost keep the peace, so to speak. You
Yes.
get into this place of feeling like maybe it's just easier if I don't say anything, or maybe if it's just easier
Yes.
if I keep going along with how it's always been, rather than
Yes.
trying to create some level of boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
being more open about what it is that you need, or
Mm-hmm.
saying things like no,
Yeah.
like you said. And so I
Yeah.
just appreciate you sharing that, because it's hard. It can be so
It
hard.
is. Yeah. Yeah. And I will say too, pointing out what you were saying, like rest feels hard or slowing down feels really difficult. I've done many trainings and a lot of people say like, I can't rest or I can't sit still. And what I want to say to that is that your nervous system isn't used to being still.
Yeah.
So slowing down actually feels like a threat to
Yeah.
your nervous system. So that's why you feel uncomfortable. That's why you feel a bit jittery. That's why you might even feel irritable when
Yeah.
you start slowing down. So when you slow down, think about what feels restful and what feels good in your body. So if it's maybe taking a slow walk, maybe it's like painting, but taking a slower pace. Maybe it is sitting and drinking your coffee. Like I have a friend, or even my husband. My husband and
Yeah.
my friend, they're the same. They just throw down that coffee, like, get it in me as fast as possible. And I'm like, I don't even know you. I don't even know how. How do you do, like, what's going on here? You gotta taste it. I'm a saver. Like, let me
Yeah.
savor that cup of coffee. Let's
Right.
enjoy the environment. Let's take a beat to smell it. The first
Yeah.
sip of coffee is my favorite. And so being able to just take 30 seconds to smell the coffee, breathe it in. So you can be doing things when you're resting, but make sure it feels restful and it
Yeah.
feels good to you.
We'll get back to our conversation shortly after this message. If you are an overwhelmed and completely confused mom who just wants a simplified, easy to follow, and understandable plan when it comes to their health and wellness journey, then you're in the right place. As a wellness coach, I focus most on empowering women to follow a highly personalized and bio-individual plan that actually gets you results and that feels sustainable for your longevity. I'd love to invite you to set up a free coaching call to talk about your health and wellness journey. Head to erinshreer.com/coaching to set up your call today. Again, that URL is erinshreer.com/coaching to set up your call. And to make it even easier, head to the show notes of this podcast and click free coaching session to set up your call ASAP. Now let's dive back into the conversation. Yeah, that's such a powerful reminder. And I know in the work that I do, this is a big topic of conversation that we discuss all the time, because the reality of the situation is we live in a really connected society where we have the opportunity to do anything for anybody at any time from sun up to sundown with no boundaries if we don't put them into place.
Yeah.
And so our nervous systems, as you just pointed out, Tiffany, are totally overloaded. So when we get to the point of actually slowing down, like actually sitting still and trying to hear ourselves or savor something or be mindful enough to figure out, how am I feeling right now? It feels very uncomfortable. It's this totally jarring process for a lot of people, myself included. I know when I first started to get into digging into this work, it was hard because it felt so unnerving to be still. And it's really a very profound practice. The more you build mindfulness around it, the more you realize how much your body really truly needs that pause. But it does take this added level of mindfulness to build that muscle, because just like everything you've talked about, like we have to practice it, right?
Right. And those beliefs that I'm not good enough, I should be doing something, I need to be productive. All of those start to bubble up when we slow down. And
Yeah.
that's really what you want,
Yeah.
even though it doesn't feel good, because those things are being suppressed by the hustle. Well, I don't have
Yeah.
time to deal with that thought, or I don't have time to deal with that emotion. But when you
Yeah.
create space for it and allow it to come, and that's what I work with my clients, is like, how do we create space for it? How do we release it? Depends on the person and how you um navigate. Everybody's a
Yeah.
little bit different when it comes to that. But you want to, because you want to create a rhythm of releasing emotion, releasing the stress, and giving space for what feels joyful and what
Yes.
feels restful. And you'll start to notice different things that you like. I think a popular thing lately has been birding.
Yeah.
And I've noticed a lot of people keep talking about, like, I love birding. I love looking at the different birds. Well,
Yeah.
that takes focus
Yeah.
and attention and a slow down. And so it's like practicing something exciting like birding, which also gets your mind going,
Yep.
um, in helping you rest.
Yeah. I don't know if I've heard of birding yet.
Yeah.
I've seen people talking about
Yeah.
it to a degree,
Yeah.
but it makes a lot of sense because you're getting out of your mind, like very
Hmm.
much into your immediate surroundings and
Yeah.
trying to pay attention to something very detail oriented out of what you're
Yes.
normally doing day to day, which is super cool.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you can get into the like nuances of like the sounds that the birds make, the colors that they are. I mean, you can just deep dive way into it, but it takes intentional practice
Yeah.
and it takes intentional slowing down so you can hear the
Yeah.
frequencies. Even like going outside in general, whether you want to do birding or not, going outside, the sound frequencies of the birds are supposed to regulate your nervous system.
Yeah. I love
And
that.
so being able to even just step outside for 30 seconds
Yeah.
is, especially right now, because they are awake
Yes.
in
Yes, they are.
springtime.
And again, like I love that you're speaking to just like really simple things that
Hmm.
we don't pay attention to most often, like that we
Yeah.
totally miss,
Yep.
that we just drive right on by. We're
Hmm.
rushing in and out of everything. And those are the little things that when you're trying to build space or get into this place of slowing down, like those are the kinds of practices that
Hmm.
can make a huge difference because it
Yeah.
helps you actually take notice. And
Yes.
that's something you have to really choose to do. You know, Tiffany, one of the things you talked about with your clients is helping them kind of make space. Can
Hmm.
you talk a little bit about kind of what that means or what that looks like
Yeah.
for someone that's listening who wants to take a step in doing that but doesn't know where to start?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. We often, our autopilot is rushing around.
Yep.
So we're rushing to the next appointment. We're rushing to the next thing. We're rushing to the next meeting. So it's taking, even if you just take a pause, like before our interview today, I just took a moment to stand outside.
Yep.
Less than a minute to just feel the sun on my face, listen to those birds that
Yep.
are chirping out there, and just taking a deep breath. I had
Yep.
a health practitioner that I'm working with, that she's my health practitioner, and she's doing a challenge that's called 45 miles per hour. And our challenge is to see, where are we rushing,
Love
and
that.
to slow down to that 45 miles per hour. Where can we slow down? So I feel like it's a good analogy of like, where's the pause? And it can
Yep.
be less than a minute to have a pause. Like maybe it's like after a meeting, give yourself 30 seconds to just sit there and breathe before you get up to go to the bathroom or get up for lunch or get up for the next thing.
Yeah.
So as you start to see that space, you're going to start seeing more space, because we
Yes.
try to fill it, because we think we have to prove, we have to fill every minute of our calendar.
Yeah.
And the reality is we don't. It's
Yeah.
actually better if we don't. Well, if we take a step back, when we take a step back, we actually propel ourselves forward.
Yeah, we do. And the thing that I love most about what you shared is how simple these things are.
Yeah.
These are like very small, simple tasks
Hmm.
that take 60 seconds or less to commit
Yeah.
to at the beginning of when you're trying to do work like this. Like
Hmm.
literally trying to recognize a moment where you can take a pause and then choosing to put your face in the sun,
Yeah.
choosing to journal for a quick second,
Yep.
choosing to, breathe or, whatever it is to help you
Yep.
kind of get that recognition of I'm moving too quickly. I need to reset And it doesn't have to be this massive commitment. And this is something that I talk to my clients a lot about too, and the women that I speak to, is we don't have to do these grand scheme
Yes.
like things all the time. It doesn't
Right.
have to be this huge calculated plan. It can be
Yeah.
these really small micro things that can make
Yes.
a big difference. And I know one of the things you teach in your programming and in the work you do as a social worker is this idea of micro moments of wellness.
Hmm.
And you kind of talked a
Yes.
little bit about it here, but I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit more. Like for the women hearing this that know they're living busy lives, they are in stress mode, they're
Hmm.
going quickly throughout their day, they're finding it hard to pause. For you, what would you talk to them about related to micro moments of wellness, and how can they kind of implement that in some capacity?
Yeah, yeah. So a really great deep breath is 10 seconds. So it's 4 counts in and 6 counts out. If you want to expand that to like 6 counts in to 10 counts out, you can.
Yeah.
But that is really under a minute or right around a minute, or less than a minute, really,
Yeah.
to just breathe. And when we breathe, we're creating more oxygen in our bodies. When we breathe out longer, that's the part that's releasing. Like the breathe in is prepping for release. The breathe
Yep.
out is releasing the stress, and your body will follow once you breathe. I always say breathing is the most underrated free tool that we have to
Yep.
release stress. We just have to learn a little bit of a technique. And if
Yeah.
all you have is 4 counts in and 6 counts out, just keep repeating that until your body starts to relax.
Yeah.
Another thing I use with my clients is having a water bottle. Like I have my water. I don't have ice in it, but put ice in it. So when you're stressed or you just need a moment, drink ice water. The cold shocks your nervous system. It's
Yep.
like, whoa, it shocks you out of that stress into this moment and to breathe.
Yeah.
And it's again, it can be 30 seconds or less, or it can be less than a minute. Now, if you have a few minutes, go ahead, enjoy the sunshine, be outside, do those
Yep.
different things. But it's just saying like, okay, do I like drinking ice water? Maybe it's a cold soda that you like. That
Yep.
works just the same.
Yep.
If you have like for me, I'm like, do I have it? I was gonna show you guys, but I have a little like pop button. It's like a little baby Yoda pop button. We're into Star Wars over here, and so I
I love
have
it.
that to just like fidget with for a moment. If I'm feeling
Yep.
stressed or I had a really stressful meeting, I'm just gonna sit and fidget with it for a little bit before I go to my next thing. And
Yeah.
so it's just creating moments like in discovering. This is one of my favorite parts with my coaching clients. It's like, let's discover. Do you like squishy things? Do you like the sunshine? Do you rather be in air conditioning? Do
Yep.
you like a sauna? What does
Yep.
movement look like for
Yep.
you? I think also exercise is very important. We see the research, it's still the same. A good
Yep.
30-minute walk is going to help your brain and body sustain health.
Yeah.
However, what if you just did 3 minutes?
Yep.
That's my thing. Like, shrink it down. Do 3 minutes. Do
Yeah.
2 minutes. Like, take a walk in the parking lot at your office, or if you work from home, maybe go out to the mailbox and come back
Yeah. Yeah. I
just to
love
get your
that.
body moving. And that's how I started with my own journey when I was on that burnout incident. And I was like, what am I going to do to like help
Yeah.
myself? And I just started those small things
Yeah.
to help, and then eventually my body was starting to crave more. It's kind of like I like to equate it to like eating vegetables.
Yep.
Sometimes we don't like to eat it, but the more we start to eat them, we start to crave them because our body actually needs them. It's the
Yep.
same thing. You get kind of like you start craving these moments of space where you start to find more space and
Yeah.
more space. And we
Yeah.
have thousands of little moments every day that will bring us joy. There's I forget who originally coined the term, but it's called glimmers.
Okay.
And glimmers are they're opposite of triggers.
Yep.
They bring joy, they cue a sense of safety. It is something that is beauty, goodness, and joy throughout your day. And we have thousands of them every day. We just have to stop long enough to see them. And
Yeah.
everybody's glimmer is different because
Yeah.
you're a unique human being, and what lights you up is way different than the next person. So being able to discover that is really fun.
Yeah. The thing that I love that I want to recall that you spoke about the most that's sitting like really deep in my heart right now that I want
Mhm.
everyone to hear again? Whoops, there's some fireworks
Yeah.
with the AI, is the point of discovery that you do with your clients and
Yeah.
how you work through this process of what feels good to you,
Mm-hmm.
what actually feels like something you can commit to, or something that brings you joy, or something
Yeah.
that fits into your real life
Mm-hmm.
based on your goals right now, based on where you truly sit.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things I am most passionate about continuing to help people understand on their inside out health and wellness journey. Because, like you said, Tiffany, we are all so unique.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are talking about anything from how we're moving to how we're eating to how we're managing mental and emotional well being to how we're working through potential burnout or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, we have to be empowered and encouraged to lean into our own unique journey
Yeah.
and having like strategic resources and support in order to help us get there. And I love
Mm-hmm.
that the work you're doing helps people do that, because that's how you create changes that actually feel sustainable or that actually stick,
Yeah.
right? When they
Mm-hmm.
actually feel good to you, not
Yes.
something that someone else adopted that you quote unquote should do.
Exactly.
That's never
Mm-hmm.
going to be the way. And so I just appreciate you saying that, because that is something I want everyone to hear, because it's big.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there's often we should try. I keep getting these ads for this Pilates machine. I'm like, oh, I should use the Pilates machine, or I should do all these other things. And people have real stories of success with these different tools, but it worked for them.
Right.
And sure, we can try it, but if it doesn't work for you, I'm like, if it doesn't bring you joy, if that Pilates reformer is not kicking it for you, then find what works for you, because you were created with desires, dreams, and goals and talents inside of you. And what's going to light you up and what feels fascinating and joyful for you, it's going to take you a long way for longevity and sustainability and really legacy, because
Yeah.
when your family starts to see you making these changes, they'll notice
Yeah.
1000%. They'll start to be like, what is she doing? Why is she
What is
taking a nap during the day?
Yeah. I love
and
it.
and then you start to influence those people you do want to care for. They start to see that difference, and you have a ripple effect just by the work you're doing for healing for yourself.
Yeah, such a good reminder. And the one last question I wanted to ask you, Tiffany, before we kind of move into wrap up,
Mm-hmm.
is kind of around that concept of how do you communicate this idea of I'm maybe feeling super stressed, I maybe feeling burned out, and I need to take steps in another direction, because I know, again, this can be really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Twofold: one, to kind of recognize it in yourself, but then
Yeah.
two, to figure out, okay, but now what do I do? How do I get help? How do I communicate this to the people I love? Or how do I find support through a social worker, a therapist?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to that person who's maybe in that place and they need encouragement around, okay, I know that maybe this is starting to be the road and the journey I'm on, and I don't want to keep going. So what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to ask the question, like, what do you feel like you can do? Does
Yeah.
it feel good to find a therapist because you need support? Are you okay reading a book, listening to a podcast, talking to a friend? It depends on where you're at, because some take more energy than others. So if you're at a place where you're like, you know what, I think I could maybe go to a walking group with some people in town, or maybe I'm just going to ask my neighbor. I have actually a friend of mine. She is house sitting for her son in law, and she met the neighbor while she's been house sitting, and they've been walking in the evenings. And I was like, how fun is that? They both get out, you're having connection, you're having community, you're getting movement done. So I think, again, it just depends on where you're at, and whatever you decide is good.
Yeah.
Whatever you
100%.
decide is good. And then to communicate it to other people, you can you can say, you know what, I am stressed and I need time to rest, or I need
Yeah.
time to figure out what's going on, whether that is I'm getting support, or I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm going to read a book. You want to make sure the next step feels easeful and supportive.
Yeah.
Because also, I don't want you to jump in and be like, well, now I got to do all this stuff
Yeah.
to overhaul my life.
Right.
And I know how that feels, because I can get in that mode too. And I think I did at the beginning of my journey, was like, well, I got to sign up for this and do that and whatever. And it's like, no, go back to the micro moments and be
Yep.
like, okay, what feels restful? What feels supportive right now? And if that
Yeah.
means you just need a day to sleep, that might mean you just need a day to sleep. And
Yeah.
then you'll have more recovery and energy to be like, okay, then what is the next step? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe it's calling Aaron or it's calling Tiffany
Yeah.
and being able to get support in that way. And then, like, what's the next step? And just taking it a step at a time. Again, we don't have to overhaul the whole picture and figure it all out. We don't have to have the grand plan. We just
Yeah.
need the next step.
Yeah. The next step. That's such a powerful thing to share.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I think just helps break it down, because it doesn't need to be this massive overhaul like you've talked
Yeah.
about. It can be small, simple steps along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, that's what actually makes things feel sustainable, especially
Yes.
when you've been living in stress mode, you've been living in
Yep.
survival, you've been on the potential road for burnout. The last thing you need is a whole new plan that you have to feel like you have to
Right.
do all at once. That's not the
Yeah.
way, right? So how do
Yes.
we unwind out of that, which is so good. So many incredible nuggets today, Tiffany. I am
Mm-hmm.
so grateful for your incredible perspective and knowledge. Will you quickly share how people can find you, get connected
Yeah.
to the work you're doing, maybe ask you questions, etc.?
Yeah, so one, my email inbox is always open. So it's tiffanyleader@seethewonder.net. I've been loving having conversations in my email inbox. And I have a podcast myself. Erin is on the podcast. So it's called Breaking Up with Burnout. You can get it on your favorite platforms. And I have a Substack as well. Is where I'm sharing more information in more long form articles there too. I have
Awesome.
a group called the Wonderwell membership. It is for helpers. We have a free call on Tuesdays at 12 at noon Central Time every week for helpers to come and just join each other and just have conversations. Actually, today we talked about transitions.
Yeah.
And but I have a community space where you can come and you can gather resources, swap resources, get some encouragement. It's kind of like, I like to say, it's like either you want to come and stop and go and get what you need, or if you want to come and fully involve yourself in the membership, either way, it's there to support you on your journey.
Awesome. Tiffany, we will make sure that everything is linked in the show notes. So if you want to connect more and see more of Tiffany's incredible work, please make sure you head over to her Substack, send her an email, get connected to her online in any way. You know, this is such a profound and important topic we have to talk about as women, because this idea
Mm-hmm.
of living in chronic stress, being burned out, in survival mode is a very real thing that so many of
Yes.
us have touched, probably in some way, shape, or form in
Mm-hmm.
some season of our life. And so, Tiffany, I can't thank you enough for your incredible work and your perspective today. So much goodness, my friend.
Thank you. It's so great being here.
Awesome. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I know balancing time and energy can be a challenge, and I'm so proud of you for listening in and investing in your wellness journey. I feel incredibly grateful to connect with you and for the opportunity to share more knowledge, stories, and encouragement related to all things wellness. I would love to hear how this podcast has served you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review on either iTunes or Spotify. Your support truly means the world to me and helps me reach more women just like you and me who are looking to transform their health from the inside out. Plus, when you share this episode with a friend, we invite more women in to learn alongside us. What a gift. Remember, knowledge is power, and the more we know, the better we can do. For ourselves, for our families, and our future. Well done on taking the step towards a healthier, happier you. Until next week, stay empowered and stay well.